Okay, so life insurance, it can be pretty confusing, right? And after something like a stroke, it can feel downright impossible.
Yeah, it can definitely feel overwhelming, I can imagine. But the good news is it isn't impossible.
That's reassuring to hear, and that's actually what we're diving into today. We've got this source pasted text all about getting life insurance, even with pre-existing conditions.
It's a really helpful resource.
It is, and it's especially relevant for you since you were the one who suggested it.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the specifics of life insurance after a stroke.
Me too, and honestly, I think a lot of people listening probably are too, right? So let's jump right in. One thing that struck me right away was this idea that getting coverage after a stroke is possible.
Yeah, the source makes that really clear. It might take a little more effort, but it's not a dead end.
Exactly. So let's break down how insurance companies even look at this. How do they evaluate someone who's had a stroke?
Well, first off, they want to know what kind of stroke you had. Ischemic, hemorrhagic, TIA. These are all different, and they matter.
That makes sense. Can you explain those a bit there?
Sure. Ischemic strokes are the most common. They happen when there's a blockage in a blood vessel in the brain. Hemorrhagic strokes are when a blood vessel ruptures. Those tend to be more serious.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then there are TIAs, or transient ischemic attacks. Those are like mini strokes. The blockage is temporary, but they can be a sign of potential problems in the future.
So even a TIA is something insurers pay attention to.
Absolutely. It's all part of the bigger picture.
I see. So it's like they're piecing together a puzzle, trying to understand your overall risk.
Precisely. And another big piece of that puzzle is how long ago the stroke happened, how severe it was, and how well you've recovered.
So the more time that's passed, the better.
It can definitely help. It gives them more data to work with, you know? They can see how well you've bounced back.
And I guess they're also looking at how you're managing your health now, right? Like, are you doing everything you can to prevent another stroke?
Absolutely. That's huge. Things like following your doctor's treatment plan, managing your blood pressure and cholesterol, all of that shows the insurer you're taking this seriously.
It's like you're proving you're a good investment risk.
Right. And speaking of blood pressure, did you know that managing it well can actually help you get better rates on your insurance?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the American Heart Association actually has some great resources for stroke survivors on how to manage blood pressure and live a healthier lifestyle.
That's amazing. We should definitely link to that in the show notes.
For sure.
Okay, so we've talked about types of strokes and recovery, but what about other health conditions? Like, let's say someone has diabetes or heart disease. How does that play into things?
Well, those conditions are often linked to a higher risk of stroke in the first place, right? So insurers definitely take them into account. And again, it comes down to how well they're being managed.
So it all ties back to showing you're on top of your health.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about the different types of life insurance policies. The source mentioned a few options, right?
It did. One option is a fully underwritten policy.
Fully underwritten. What does that even mean?
Basically, it means they're going to look at everything. You'll have to do medical exam, answer a bunch of health questions, provide blood and urine samples. They might even do an EKG.
Wow, so it's pretty thorough.
Yeah, it's the most comprehensive option, but the good news is it usually comes with the best rates.
That makes sense. You get a better deal because they have all the information.
Right.
But I imagine that medical exam could be a bit intimidating.
Oh, for sure, especially after going through something like a stroke. But that's where an insurance broker can really come in handy.
Oh, yeah, the source talked about that. Why are brokers so important in this whole process?
Well, they can help you navigate all the complexities of different insurance companies and their policies. Every insurer evaluates stroke risk differently, and a broker can guide you towards the ones that are more likely to approve you and offer good rates.
So they're like your personal insurance Sherpa.
Exactly. They know the terrain, and they can help you find the best path.
And they can also explain all those other policy options, right? Like the source mentioned simplified issue and guaranteed issue.
Yep. Simplified issue life insurance is kind of in between. You don't need a medical exam, but you still have to answer health questions. Guaranteed issue is a bit different. You're automatically approved no matter what your health history is.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
It is, but it usually comes with higher premiums and a waiting period before the full death benefit kicks in.
Ah, so there are trade-offs with each option.
There always are. It's about finding what works best for your situation.
Right. And I guess that's where having a good broker is so valuable.
Absolutely. They can help you weigh the pros and cons and make the right decision for you.
Well, this has been incredibly informative. I feel like we've really unpacked a lot. For everyone listening, hopefully this deep dive has shown you that getting life insurance after a stroke is totally doable. It might seem complicating, but remember, there are resources out there to help you. And one of the best resources is a good insurance broker. They can guide you through the whole process and make it a lot less daunting. As you continue your research, I want you to think about what's most important to you when it comes to life insurance. What kind of coverage do you need to feel secure? What kind of premium fits your budget? Answering these questions will help you narrow down your options and take the next step.
That's great advice.
Thanks. And thanks to you for sharing your expertise.
Of course.